The story of this, our third aid trip to Romania, really begins with children like these from the schools of Northallerton and the surrounding area. It was all very exciting as over 1,000 Christmas shoebox parcels were gathered together. We want to thank all of the boys and girls for their hard work, which they did in gathering so many parcels together. We're grateful too for all the teachers and head teachers who made it possible.
That's lovely, thank you.
As you can see, not only Christmas presents, but also a large amount of other goods were assembled in our church premises for sorting and packing. At one stage, we literally could barely see the floor. Every item has to be carefully packed into the truck. By the time we'd finished, over 7 tons of aid had been loaded, ready for the long journey. And so after a lot of hard work in preparation, we were given a wonderful send-off by friends and well-wishers. The first leg of the journey to Hull doesn't take very long. But then after a choppy night on the North Sea, we disembark and begin our 1,500-mile drive. In the total journey, we have to clear about 14 customs posts, this one at the Romanian border. It can be a very nerve-wracking and arduous procedure. The longest we had to wait on this trip was about 5 hours, which, although quite a long time, was nothing compared to the 3 days some of these drivers had been queuing. And if the paperwork isn't just right, you can be turned around and sent home. Well, if that wasn't enough, our load still had to be given the final check by customs officials in Timișoara. There were a few anxious moments at this point, as we thought we were going to have to unload all 7 tons for inspection. But just at the right moment, a friend of the customs officer came by and wanted to chat, so we were waved on and given the all clear. Our 2 calls in the city of Timișoara were at the Children's Clinic and Maternity Hospital. The boxes we're unloading here contain the donated items like sheets, blankets, cotton wool, baby milk and so on. We also were able to bring many other valuable supplies that were bought with the cash donations, like syringes, needles, feeding tubes, antibiotics and so on. And by the time we'd finished, there was a room full of supplies ready for inspection by the staff.
How's it going, ladies?
It was like Christmas for the consultants as they looked through the supplies we had brought. It's not surprising really that they were so delighted, because in Romania, not only are common antibiotics virtually unavailable, but even everyday hospital items like rubber gloves, disinfectant and so on are very hard to obtain. One of our great joys on this trip was to find many of the items we had taken last year in active use. These 4 cots were donated from the Friarage Hospital, and 2 more were taken this year. The incubator shown here in use was from the neonatal unit at the Friarage Hospital.
Yes, please. Who is it?
He's abandoned.
Abandoned.
This little one, just 2 months old, like so many others here, has been abandoned. The staff work very hard to make the most of what they have, but it has to be said that the little equipment they do possess is very antiquated. And it's nice to know that all of the things which we have brought, from sterile medical supplies to the cots and the blankets, will help to make the lives of these children just a little bit more comfortable. For example, without the milk powder which we brought, these babies would be fed only on carrot juice, as this is the only substitute available to them. Notice that here on the wards there are no toys, mobiles or play items of any kind in any of the cots, or indeed anywhere in the rooms. And more abandoned babies who will live in the hospital until a place can be found in one of the overcrowded state orphanages. But before we left, we were able to leave Christmas presents for all of the babies and the children in both the Children's Clinic and the Maternity Hospital. You can see how pleased they were to receive a Christmas shoebox packed full of toys, sweets, pencils, crayons, and so on. And here's the proud owner of a parcel. Watch this little boy's face as he discovers what's in his box. I hope that all you boys and girls who gave Christmas shoebox presents, and indeed all of you who helped in any other way, feel a great sense of joy and happiness as you watch these pictures, knowing that you have helped to bring some happiness to children like these in Romania. Our next call was about an hour and a half's drive away. Most farmers still use horses for farm work, and the whole country of Romania is far behind the rest of Europe in terms of development. Our destination is this orphanage at Gvozdje, which we are now visiting for the third time. And after a brief chat with the director, we began to unload another large amount of goods, including clothing, shoes, food, bedding, and so on. Over 100 children live here, mostly boys, but there are a few girls. And here they are, waiting for their Christmas parcels. The children were so excited they could hardly wait, and you can see them letting us know their ages by holding up the right number of fingers. Before we left, every one of them received a present, and again it was wonderful to see the happiness on their faces. A razor for this older boy.
Yeah, you need it now.
Scarves, gloves, hats, and cosmetics for the girls.
You like it?
Our last call was over 9 hours' drive north to the town of Sachumara, just 2 miles from the Ukrainian border, to visit a girls' orphanage which so far had not received any outside help. The girls were very excited to see us and show us around, probably because we were the first visitors from abroad that they had ever had. Although we'd been briefed that conditions were not good, we couldn't believe the cramped conditions in which they live. 198 girls sleep in 93 beds. That's at least 2 to a bed. And the beds are jammed in so close together you can barely walk between them. There's no personal space of any kind, not even a cupboard or a wardrobe, and no personal possessions. Even the clothes are communal. At meal times they eat out of tin bowls, and because there are not enough tin mugs to go around, they have to share. This is the washroom and the showers, which as you can see were very dirty and run down. The toilets were even worse, not even seats or doors, and just 4 cubicles for nearly 200 girls. And this, believe it or not, is what they call their playroom, with not a toy or book in sight, and only wooden benches to sit on. When we filled the playroom with Christmas presents, however, it was a different story. They broke out into a song as they waited patiently for their Christmas presents from Northallerton. Although most of them look like boys, they are in fact all girls, with their hair cut short to keep headlights at bay. And each one of them received a Christmas shoebox and a soft doll. And then once they'd collected their present, it was off down the corridor to the dormitory to examine the contents. These pictures speak for themselves. There was such excitement and joy, and the commotion in the rooms was just unbelievable. They screamed with delight, jumped up and down, hugged the dolls, kissed their presents. I suppose it's not surprising, really. Remember, these children had never in their lives received a Christmas present before, and they personally owned nothing. To be honest, all of us on the team were overcome with emotion. And the one thought in our minds was, if all those people who had worked so hard and given of their money, knitted the dolls, raised funds, or helped in any way with the appeal could just share these few moments with us, I can tell you it made everything worthwhile. Can you imagine the joy of receiving your very first Christmas card? Well, it really was a scene of the most glorious kind of pandemonium, and one we will never forget as long as we live. Meanwhile, back in the playroom, presents were still being given out, this time to the older girls. I think they were almost as excited as the young ones. Just at this point, I would actually like to say a very big thank you to all of you who made this trip possible. Thank you, boys and girls, for all the shoebox parcels and for singing on the carol tapes to raise funds. And to each of you watching this video who helped in any way, in all sincerity, this would not have been possible without your support. And so when it came time to leave, they clung to our clothes and wanted to hug us. I don't think any of us on the team had a dry eye. And we determined that we must return and try to do even more this year to help these underprivileged children.
Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time?